us virtually is Dr. Wisdom Enang. Good morning. It's always refreshing to have you on the program.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, let me take you up with the first report here. Kano government seeks Assembly's approval for 99 billion naira. I mean, if you add 1 billion naira to it, it might as well be 1 trillion naira. But my question is this actually justifiable for just one state?
You know, the thing is, so a number of questions, right? When I hear this sort of things is, the first thing, is it justifiable? That's the first thing. What is their current debt, profile looking like, or debt to income profile looking like? And what projects is this going to be put on? Is it going to be used? Because my biggest worry with, using it for infrastructure projects is who's going to pay for it? Are you just betting against the next, say, federal allocation, which you're not sure whether it's going to be a surplus of what you're earning or lower than what you're earning? Because it depends on the oil, sort of throughput that we have at the end of the day and the prevalent international oil price. So my worry is it worth it? Has someone done the math? And who ratifies this sort of loans? Because my understanding is that before you get loans of this sort, somebody must surety for it. So is the federal government suretying? Have they checked that that state is able to pay back? Because you do not want another embarrassment, just like the headlines of the Chinese seizing the Nigerian fleet simply because one state was owing it. So we should now know that one embarrassment for one state is actually an embarrassment for the whole nation, because when another party wants to act against the interests of the nation because of one state's infringement, they do not act say, well, who is it? Which state are you from? All they know is that we are all Nigerians, and that's what it's supposed to be. So yes, I don't think at this point in time, based on the economic fundamentals and realities, that it is a wise decision to be going for at the moment.
Right. You know, this conversation around this conversation we're having now is something that we've heard over time. But if we're going to look at our debts, Nigerians or the country at large taking debts for projects, sometimes they say when you're going to take a debt, it should be for something that, would yield more money so that you can make profits even when you pay off the debt. But most times we take debts and at the end of the day, it's not even used for what exactly it was gotten for. How exactly do we manage the situation and start to look more into generating revenue internally so that we can actually finance some of these things? Or is it that we cannot finance some of these projects from our internally generated revenue?
I mean, we can, but let me just answer your question. I'd like to give you a very, very, sort of honest answer. When you think about it, I think you have to walk backwards to the motive, and the motive will tell you what someone's trying to achieve. And I'll give you context, and I'm not trying to play out or tell you that this is an active scenario in this context. You see somebody and they have a 4-year administration, and they're thinking, okay, what do? We need money really quickly, and we need to get our money quick. Can we do set up a project, do all our maths, show them that we can pay them back with future earnings? So you're basically mortgaging the future. And then let's get a loan, award these projects to our proxies, let our proxies execute it, and then we mark up, let's say, about 200% on the normal value for the project. And then we get out the differential and put it in our pockets. To that person, that would make perfect sense why they should actually opt to go for a quick loan like that. But if the objective was to say, well, let's see how we can boost our internal revenue, let's see how we can lock up some of the areas where there are leakages, let's see how we can clean up the system, get the excess cash, and begin to sort of do an infrastructure development project over a period of time. And even if we cannot progress really, go as fast as we want, we'll have a blueprint that allows the next administration to pick up from there and continue. Then the motive will be quite different. So everything, I mean, that was just me putting out two generic scenarios. And that's to show you that everything evolves around what is the purpose, what is the motive. And it's not, sometimes when you see the outcomes, you drill back to the motive, you find out that yes, it's always very consistent. There's that homogeneous consistency between the way they want to do things and their intentions at the end of the day. You will not be surprised.
All right, thank you very much. Let's move your thoughts to the Punch newspaper this morning, which says the external auditors to examine NNPC 2.6 trillion naira subsidy claim. I remember last year we were told that Nigeria, the subsidy removal had saved Nigeria about 1 trillion naira, and I lost track of the whole sum at this point, so we don't even know how much it is, but we are getting 2.6 trillion. But my first question is, with these external auditors coming into play, do you think that we will be able to get a thorough report, audit report of what is actually going on in the NNPC as regards to the subsidy claim? And secondly, what about auditing the entire NNPC? Do you think that we can actually get that done in this present administration?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, you're right. When it comes to auditing the NNPCs, there are several unknown unknowns and there are several known knowns. And the way I'd like to say it is, the big unknown is how much is Nigeria's real PMS consumption? Because that has been one thing that it looks like. I mean, before, when we used to pay our subsidy payments to different people for importing it, it was, it was so large a number that I was wondering if it's Nigeria times 4 that is consuming this amount. And now that subsidy is out, but only paid to the NNPC, you've seen a different figure. So the question is, and then sometimes you see scarcity and we're wondering, were we under planning? The question is, what is the basis that will be used for the calculation? Because audit or not, there are some scams, I like to say, if you're trying to find those scams, that are not as black or white. They're sometimes very gray. And the grayshness, the scale of the grayshness would actually depend on the numbers. For example, the amount of consumption. So I think it is important that we audit it. But while I was speaking to the numbers for Nigeria's consumption was that if we, then what is the confidence of the figures that you're going to be auditing? It's more like a procedural audit, less than and not really an audit to say this is a forensic audit. What why are we having this number? Why are we having this? So just to give you my thoughts, it's a cautious optimism because I expect at the end of the day procedural audit. Did you follow this process? Did you follow this process? Okay, why was this not done this way? Why was this not ratified at this point? This is what I expect. I don't think they will come out to say, oh, this number is not correct. We expect 3 point something billion, trillion, or whatever, or 1 point something trillion. I don't expect any of that to happen. I expect more of a procedural, audit.
Right. Dr. Wisdom Enang, let me take you up on a headline on the Vanguard newspaper, very disturbing one. Agony in Southeast as kidnappers lay siege to communities. Now, we understand the fact that the conversation around insecurity, banditry, kidnapping has been going on for a very long time now. And even though we keep asking questions where our service chiefs, our security operatives, what is happening, every day it keeps getting worse. Now, the Vanguard newspaper has it that a lot of communities in the Southeast are unable to even live their lives normally because kidnapping has become the order of the day. I would like to get your perspective on this particular headline and how you think this situation can be managed, connecting it to the story on the Punch newspaper where the Inspector General of Police has vowed to rescue 2,149 kidnapped victims.
Thank you. It's really disturbing. And sometimes I kind of ask myself to say, what is the real goal? Are we trying to, put out a Nigeria that is going to be united and stand? Because insecurity is one of the things that can destabilize the country. And my biggest question is, right, are these people that are perpetuating these crimes, are they completely invisible? And even if they are their sponsors also invisible and invincible? Because I mean, I cannot understand, why people would seem to be bigger than the government, seem to
All right. Thank you very much.